here?
I don't know. What do we have? What's going on?
Hello. Hi.
Who's this
Hi
man?
there.
Who's this man over here?
Good day.
Good day. Hey, I thought I'd wear a mask because I'm not really sure how
clear.
contagious you guys are. You know.
We're clear.
So I
For
don't-
sure.
Are we all right?
Yeah.
Are we good? Are we good? Get your shot? All right.
Hell yeah.
All right. Because I you never know with all these variants going around.
Exactly. Yeah. It will take over electronics and everything.
Absolutely. It'll come
Go
through your
even crazy.
podcast and you
Oh
guys
my
will
God.
be ruined.
He'll catch up
Oh.
to us.
We'll have to quit.
Yeah.
It's a coincidence. No, my name is Vincent. So maybe if you hear the Vincent, you could be talking to me, but Ronald, you have to be clear.
I will be.
Yeah,
gonna
because
get,
I get called Vincent too, so that's why and there's not too many Vincents, so welcome to the club.
Exactly. I'm very happy with my name. Every time I'm like in a school or whatever, wherever I go to, not many people have my name. So that's
It's important that we can see you, Francis.
For me,
Yeah.
France.
Yeah.
You know,
Francis.
it's interesting because when you contacted me originally, you said that my voice didn't sound like Francis,
No.
my normal
not at
voice.
all. It still doesn't sound
Right.
like it.
No, and I've had a lot of people contact me over the years to say the exact same thing, and I have to explain. I go, well, one, Francis is a voice that I created, and other two, I'm not Francis, and three, I'm a voice actor, so I create
Yeah.
voices.
Exactly.
So anyway,
well,
that's
Ronald,
it's kind of interesting how people. It's interesting how people would just be so shocked by that.
Welcome to the VOC Podcast.
Hello, guys, and welcome to episode 9 of the VOC Podcast. Today, it's yet again me, Ronald, Vincent, and our special guest, Vince Valenzuela. Is it?
Valenzuela.
Valenzuela.
Well,
Not Venezuela.
Yes.
Valenzuela. Okay.
No, not Venezuela. That is a country,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I am not that.
Yeah. And he is the voice of Francis in Left 4 Dead.
That was me. Yeah, that was.
Mhm.
I think
Okay.
that's why I'm here.
You kind of look like him, actually.
Well, it's interesting when the original drawings. I mean, I know you guys have interviewed a lot of people that done video games and stuff like that. So there's a lot of secrecy and non-disclosure agreements and all that kind of stuff around it. So the preliminary drawing that I had of the character was very Cro-Magnon man looking. He had a very heavy brow, and he was like a big bushy beard.
Yeah.
He looked almost like a caveman.
yeah.
And then when it finally, you do these, and this is probably a course of 2 years that I did the audition, and by the time the game was released, was probably around 2 years. And so the early drawings, and what I never saw, and nor did anybody else see the trailer until it was produced, and then we went in and voiced the trailer.
Yeah.
And so when we saw it, we were just blown away, because it was one that, and the look of my character was totally different, and I thought it was like, well, he's kind of a badass.
Yeah.
And then just the overall production level, they had the animators from Hulk and King Kong, and they start telling you this stuff, and you're like, wow, this is pretty big deal, and the amount of money they're spent on it, and which I didn't see a lot of that, but
yeah. Shit.
anyway, that was it was an interesting thing, just the level, because everything was so secret that and this was also this was probably the tail end of 2008 when we were doing the trailer. So video games at the time, it was a pretty big deal in the gaming world, and as far as multiplayer format, I guess, and some other
Definitely.
things. And so that was interesting to see, because everything was so I just didn't think it was going to be that slick, that level of production, and it was impressive to just see, because the trailer was just balls to the wall.
Yeah.
And
Really.
and you're just like, and you're in the studio and they got it on full, I mean, it's with all that surround sound and everything, it just comes at you. So that
Amazing.
was pretty surprising.
Wow. I can't imagine like the experience like afterwards. But also, we have the drawings, the original ones. I think the
Oh, you
ones
do?
you saw, and we have
That's
the
fun.
actual models that were fully working in game. So it's a pretty big difference. And he was like, I don't know how much heavier he was too.
He was definitely a chubby,
Yeah.
kind of a fat, caveman biker guy.
Yeah.
He wasn't.
Yeah.
He wasn't. I'm trying to think of the UMA fighter, Chuck Rydell. Chuck Rydell looked like a lot like Francis, or Francis looked a lot like Chuck Rydell. But and if you look them up, you'll see that they look very similar.
Inspiration.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other thing was the dress was pretty much the same. I mean, it's kind of just he had a vest, and but
Yeah.
the early guy was not muscular. This Francis was a sleek looking, badass, a guy that you wouldn't really want to mess with.
Exactly. Yeah. And he's still a badass, but then of course that's, who knows, one of the two is more intimidating. I don't really know.
I wouldn't want to meet either one of them, I don't think.
Yeah, especially not together. Those would be crazy brothers. Like they would beat you up in a dark alleyway.
Yeah, I'd be the one that was kind of the brains and the brawn, and then the other one who was just crazy.
Yeah, I can picture that. Yeah.
Yeah, the one who is maybe the one who was always in and out of jail, and then there's the other one who was just MMA fighter, and killed zombies on the side or something.
Yeah. On the side.
This is a hobby. He's got a hobby.
Yeah.
Says a zombie killer.
Yeah, he's not in for the pay. It's just fun.
Right. So that's interesting. How did you guys get the drawings? That's interesting to me, because I'll tell you about the audition when I did, but I'm just curious how you guys came across all that stuff.
Well, I think Valve just officially released them after a while, or just around the time of the release of the game. And afterwards, there were like original files and original sort of gameplay trailers with those designs, like fully working in game.
Oh, really?
And we never actually got to see them up close. And then later on, there was a fan project, and somebody got sort of the access to the database, databanks of Valve, and sort of reworked the models to work in game.
Actually, Valve back in 2015 officially released these models because they found them in the archives, and that's when.
Yeah, but it was by a fan who initially sort of worked on it and made them fully working with the help of Valve, of course. But that's really cool.
Yeah, it was interesting when as far as just on YouTube channels and stuff like that, like people created this techno dance song, with Francis and the what I don't hate, and I don't hate this vest.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have that link to that. I believe it's still on my website, but I have that link to that song just because I thought it was crazy and funny.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, what an honor to the person who did that.
Yeah, and it was just funny that people would go to that amount of trouble and detail to create, and lift lines or sections from the video, the game and itself, and then create techno dance music out of that.
Yeah, it's really amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What was the difference between, like, did you use a different voice for the old concept Francis, or was it perhaps a bit deeper, or how exactly did you
Well, again, this is a long time ago, but what I remember about sometimes if I get an audition, I'll sit on it for a day or two if I have time to do it. And I'll kind of think about how I want to do it, what I'm, play with the lines a little bit. Then I'll let it sit for a day or something, or sometimes overnight. But what I did for that, what I remember it is like, you know what, I'm just going to get up early in the morning. I'm just going to record it first thing in the morning, because my voice can get kind of deeper. Some days it's beyond Barry White deep for whatever reason. I don't know. It just wakes up deep. So that's when I recorded sitting in my bed with my laptop in my underwear. That's how I recorded Francis.
Oh, perfect.
And so it's like, oh, and I'm like, I got that, really? And then, my agent was telling me like, this is kind of a big deal. I go, I don't really know. And so then it was just on hold for a long time, so you, like, well, what's going on with that? Well, they're still working on blah, blah, blah. And then, because the original company, I want to say it's something on the pond. They were out of Orange County, California. And
Turtle Rock.
Turtle Rock, yeah. So they absorbed the game from them.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how much time passed before we started doing the recording sessions, but I want to say it was probably at least a year.
Yeah, sounds familiar.
And the very first recorded session was really intense because we went through, which you can't do this now. They put in regulations with the union and stuff.
Yeah.
4 hours. I ripped through about 80 pages of script. And
Damn.
It was intense, balls to the wall, a lot of screaming, yelling. And I was exhausted. I had at one point I said, I have to stop because I'm lightheaded and I'm gonna pass out,
Whoa.
And they're like, really? I go, well, what? I go, yeah. I'm like,
Wow.
And they're like, what do you mean? I go, I'm on the verge of passing out here, man. I need to sit down and rest for a second. They're like, oh,
Gee.
okay. And I'm like,
Wow.
okay.
An average human doesn't really go on for that long. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, which is one of those lessons that fake life is sometimes more difficult than real life,
Wow. Yeah.
Make believe is harder than real life at times. And vice versa. But it was one of those where it's like, by the end of that, I was literally exhausted and I went home and I probably took like a 4-hour nap. I was just exhausted.
Gee.
And I got woken up by a buddy of mine called me on my cell phone, and I wake up. I'm like, and he's like, Vince? And I'm like, he goes, hey, it's Jordan. How's it going? He goes, dude, what's up with your voice? And because it was so raw and so deep. And he goes, oh man, I just whole voiceover thing. Well, and he's like, wow. He goes, that's really trash, but I gotta say it's kind of sexy. Like,
of course.
But yeah, my voice
was I can feel
really, it was fried for, just the lines I recorded for you guys. Put some strain on your voice. I felt that after and you kind of get in a zone where you dial in the voice and the the rhythm and you're when in session, the lines and the attitude and all these different emotions you have to play as the character. So you get a rhythm with that. And, it didn't take, I kind of just woke up early yesterday and I recorded some stuff before I had to go take her some other things. And I thought, well, just, it didn't, I pretty much dialed into it pretty quick. But it's, it's like, man,
yeah,
that's a little rough on my voice. There was one session that we, and I think this was probably in the second or third. So I can't remember how many sessions we did, but it was not the first one. I know that. But Valve had got the rights to using profanity.
Okay.
And particularly the F-bomb.
Mm-hmm.
So they had some, I don't know, 1 or 2 pages of lines say. So I ripped through those with poetic profanity and so I go through there and it was and they're like, wow, Vince, you're really good at that. I go, well, I come from a long line of swears,
Oh my god.
And sometimes it's just genetic,
Yeah.
But that was kind of fun just because it was very like, you can't, this certain ratings of, and then they go, well, we got so I don't even know how much they used in it, but that was, it was kind of a big deal when they got the go ahead to do that. And then I think they pulled it back a little bit.
Probably
But,
because there's not really any F-bombs in the game. If so, maybe one, but I can't remember anymore.
Yeah, and and a lot of that
Yeah.
stuff, it's whether it's movies or television or stand-up, cable shows, whatever, and there's a lot of stuff that's just gratuitous. And it's I always looked at it in writing, my own stuff, that it was it's a way to, if it's a way to really make sense, then but if it's gratuitous, or it's just, you can get the same point across. That's, I would rather do it that way.
Yeah,
because it's all about the kids.
It's all about the yeah, of
True.
course. That's
which-
why all the gore and yeah.
Which
Imagine
brings me,
Dora
I'll
the
tell you
Explorer
another,
with a lot of blood.
right. Well, it's interesting because I remember doing a session on when they did well, there was another one too, particularly it's just talking about kids. But I was performing at a comedy club, and I checked in. I got there for the first night, early the first show, and the manager came over and he said, "Hey, my son and I are big fans of Left 4 Dead." I said, "Oh, that's cool." He goes, "Yeah," and he had downloaded a still of Francis. He goes, "Could you sign this for my son?" I'm like,
Aww.
"Sure, yeah." And he goes, "Yeah, we play it all day, like on the weekends. We'll sit around and play it for like 8 hours." I'm like,
My
"All right,
God. That's
okay."
sweet.
And I'm like, "Yeah, nice." And so I'm sorry, what's his name? Oh, Kevin or whatever. I'm like, "Oh, hey, Kevin." And I go, "How old is he?" And he's like, 6. And I'm like,
What?
I'm like, "Your 6-year-old is playing that?" Oh my God. I'm just like shocked, I don't have kids, but I wouldn't have my 6-year-old son playing that game.
No.
And so I'm just thinking, like, this is my fear, and I'm not making this up.
Okay.
That one day, some kid that played Left 4 Dead as Francis is going to go into a mall and shoot people up, and he's going to be doing my voice. And this is something that freaks me out, that because I never really thought about the violence of all that stuff or how it influences kids,
Oh, yeah.
And again, this is 2008 when the tail end was finally completed. So it's a long time ago, and a lot has happened, and in worldwide, as far as just violence and guns and all that stuff.
Definitely.
And I just remember distinctly just stopping what I was writing and just looking at this guy going, "Oh, I can't believe you let your son play this. He's 6 years old playing this game." And I just like, okay, there you go. And I just I gotta go do something else. This is freaking me out.
Whatever makes you happy.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And then when we were doing another one, it was in Santa Monica at LA Studios. I had was splitting my time back and forth between Seattle and Santa Monica at that time, and so we did I don't know if it was 2 or 3 or one of those sessions. And so the sound engineer was he and his son was in high school, and he loved that game, and they played it. The same thing, because we play this all the time, and Francis is his favorite character. And he said, at the end of the session, would you mind recording some lines? I could use it as his ringtone or whatever. I said, sure. So
awesome.
And I said, do your homework, or whatever, things like that. Do what your mom and dad say.
Don't break
eat your
law.
vegetables, right? And don't be a jackass.
Amazing.
So he put it on his kid's phone or whatever. So that was kind of fun. Just because,
great.
you don't really. Most people are interactions with. I get it. Would be people that found me somehow on the internet and then sent me a message, or they made comments on my stand-up clips or something like that, or acting clips or whatever. So it's not really often that I would actually meet people that were, played the game a lot and stuff like that.
Now that we're actually talking so much about the about the voice acting, especially Left 4 Dead, of course. What was sort of the start for voice acting or acting in general? What got you into it, or what was your first job gig?
Well, I was in college, and I had already known that I wanted to go into entertainment, and so
Cool.
I finished my business degree in marketing. And one of the things that I was like, I really don't want to go in the corporate world, but at the time I thought, sports marketing was something that was nobody really had. Like now they have universities that you can get your degree in sports marketing.
Yeah.
But that was not around. This is, like 1986.
Okay.
So I thought, well, if I was going to go in the corporate world, I would want to work in sports, because I'd played sports all my life and stuff. So I said, well, I sent in and I got a couple interviews, but I didn't get a job. So anyway, I had taken an acting class out of college, and I had an agent, and then I was doing stand up. And so then by the late 80s, I was touring the country and working full time as a stand up. And then I lived in Los Angeles in 97, 98. And then I had this all makes sense. So just so you know, this all ties together.
Sure.
But I got in a situation, I had a management, I was under this management, and that kind of fell apart. And then I got in this lawsuit with my landlord. I just signed a new lease. So next thing you know, we end up losing in court, which is like really hard to do in West LA and Santa Monica there. So I just said, I got to get out of, I'm just going to leave LA for a while, and I'm going to go back to Seattle just for 6 months, a year. And I had a girlfriend that lived in Seattle. So I go, I'm going to go back. This will give me some time just to kind of clear my head. And then I'll work on voice. I was writing some projects at the time. I was trying to develop projects for myself. So I thought, well, I'll go back there, and I can give me a chance to work on voiceover that I knew that I wanted to do, and acting, but I was never really around for any of that because I was gone on the road touring all the time. So that first year that I did it, I put together a demo for voiceover and instantly started getting work. And this is back when people just listen to your demo and they go, "Hey, can you get to the studio tomorrow at 1?" "Oh, sure." And and when you auditioned, you had to go into the studio, and MP3s were not around, and you'd go into the studio and you'd read for the director and the client, and they'd give you some adjustments and whatnot. And that was the audition process of back then. It was like an on-camera audition where you go in and like a casting office, but it's a studio.
Yeah.
And so I was getting work of that, and I was getting work as an actor. So that's kind of how I started diversifying. And it was kind of, and at the same time, which this another thing, is that my girlfriend at the time was diagnosed with uterine cancer. So I was like, I can't really go back on the road full time. I have to be here, So that was kind of how that 3-prong thing. That's when things really got complicated. It's like, diversifying into wearing these different creative hats. And so that was how I started getting voiceover work. And I liked them all, and they all have some similarities. But one of the things I liked about voiceover was it's so isolated. It's just you. Either you're recording and you're in your head recording this. It's more pure in a sense of you're creating a character more than in a live audition, say on camera audition, where they're giving you adjustments or things on. Now, one of the hardest things of voiceover was to go from going in a live audition with people, and they get to know your personality and things like that. You have a live human connection, to going back to restarting recording MP3s at home. So that was a big transition. It was hard for a lot of people, I know myself included. And then once you sort of got used to that, that became the norm. And I'm like, well, I really don't want to be a sound engineer, and I don't really want to have a home studio. But so I had to bite the bullet and buy a nice mic or, whatever, try to get used to all that stuff. And then I started liking that process because you could get, you had more time with it, so if you got and sometimes you have time for auditions, you can play with it more. Sometimes you don't, like for me, I have a range that's pretty wide. So I may read for, like announcer guy or guy next door, kind of just radio spots, or, announcer spots for something, voiceover television spot. And then character stuff was something that I always did well. And then video games, was kind of fell into that, some animation things. But, that's interesting. When I was splitting my time between Seattle and Los Angeles, you had to go back into the studio, and that's, you had to do live auditions with a booth director. And that became weird because I'd been so used to doing recording at home and having plenty of time, and playing it back, self-directing myself, making adjustments. But now you're relying on somebody else, whom you may not have a great rapport with because they don't really know you all that well, or what you can do and how quickly you can adjust on the fly and that kind of stuff. So that became a difficult task because, you have very little time. You have 1-2 takes, maybe 3 at the very most. And, you could read for 7 different things in a very short period of time, like, 10 minutes, And
then you're on the clock too.
And you're just ripping through stuff. And then like, okay, great, we got it. And you're like, okay, you walk out of like, I don't know what the hell just happened, but that was just, your brain just kind of and walk out of there. And so now if I have time, it's kind of nice to be able to record stuff at home and play with it. And, because sometimes I'll listen to it later, go, I don't know what I was thinking on that, but that doesn't sound good. So then you go back and, that's one of the things, the advantages of it. If you have the time to record stuff and do multiple takes, sit on it, come back, listen to it later. Yeah. But it's also too, is just when you're not, this is kind of the advantage of having somebody directing you in an audition, is you may have a great audition, but you may be driving up the wrong road, in the sense that, their interpretation, your interpretation of the breakdown and the description of the, maybe you just are doing it a different way that you thought was right, and their interpretation was completely different.
Yeah.
So those kind of things, when you're self-directing, like, well, I think it's a pretty good audition, but I have no idea, and hit the send button, and then, that's it. You get no feedback, whatever. So in a live audition, you can get a pretty quick, pulse on what's going on,
Yeah.
And I just try to put, if I have put at least, 2 reads on something, and 3 if you have time. Sometimes they'll let you give a little more play, and then you just put it all in one MP3 and just send it out. But I like things like where you have more time to, like in the case like Left 4 Dead, we have more time with the character. You have lots of script where you, and a chance to really build a character and a persona, their ins and outs. And one of the things with Francis was his emotional depth. He came across as this, they were very, very upfront about what they want. We want this guy. He has compassion, and he's the protector, and he's, he has this facade of being this really tough guy, but he's kind of a teddy bear underneath all that stuff, under the rough exterior,
Yeah.
A lot of people say that about me. So it really wasn't typecasting. It was really just me being me.
Of course. Wow.
Yeah. I'm a big teddy bear.
They really saw it in
it's
you.
funny. I'm not, well, thanks. A lot of people don't, so you're not alone.
Okay. Exactly.
So, how are you doing with the COVID and everything?
Well, it's been interesting. I finally got my vaccine, my first vaccine.
Good.
And so that's good. And I'll get my second one on the 6th of May, which, and I've been able to be able to socially distance myself, where I didn't have to interact with a lot of people and all that stuff, which is kind of the way I operate anyway.
Okay.
So it wasn't really thank God I've been socially distancing myself my whole adult life. But
That's good.
that was, a lot of people had a big issue with it, but not being around people. But you just kind of I'm pretty, I don't have problems with being isolated and just because I've always got something to do. I always kind of off in my own world. I march to my own drum kind of thing, and so.
Yeah.
I'm not, and that's so that a lot of people had issues with just being able to interact and get out socially and things like that. And I get it, and I've been able to just chug along and stay busy. And now things are starting to open up. I'm in Seattle area, and my girlfriend is in Santa Monica. We go to California. We go back and forth, and so there's been kind of differences between the two areas as far as what is open, what's not open, and when they had spikes and the like everywhere, things would be going well, and then people, it spikes and then things shut down again, and so things are. I don't know what it's like where you guys are at, but here it's starting to loosen up. But then they just like in Washington State, they pulled back in some of the counties here that had some spikes, so they went from 50% capacity back down to 25. Okay. So it's a tough for a lot of people. And actually my agent, I didn't know this, she got sick when COVID first came out, and I had no idea until probably about a year after it happened. She kept it secret, but she got really sick and had she was coughing so hard she went into cardiac arrest.
Really?
And they had to use the pads on her, So
that's insane.
Yeah, and this was right when COVID was first busting out. And in Seattle was the area where COVID was really first started. As far as the United States, the first cases were in this area. So she made it out of that, but she said it was just absolutely brutal. The coughing, and she said just my eyes hurt so badly. She said it is. She goes, I've given birth, and this is far worse, the pain and everything else. So I've been happy. Every people in my family have been healthy, and my friends, and so it's interesting time worldwide for a lot of people, and I hope that we can make sense of this stuff and move on and be able to move on in a more compassionate way around the world, and have a little more respect for the planet Earth. And it's interesting to see how the Earth adjusted to things slowing down. We were just watching a thing yesterday. They had an interview with Richard Attenborough and the BBC on this special they produced on how things just went crazy in the wild, where things they were, because of the quiet that mankind had just shut down, that a lot of these things, the recovery time of plants and animals just flourished. So it's pretty interesting how quickly our imprint, we're not projecting the human imprint out in the wild, in the environment, how things just come back like quickly. And
definitely.
So that's my 2 cents on that. But how about you guys? How you guys been doing?
Well, let me see. Here, the vaccines we have we don't have enough, and it's a very, very slow process. So right now, only people over maybe at the end of let me say over 60, over 70 are getting the vaccines, but like no one else. Before that, all the restaurants are still closed. You can't go in any store without making an appointment first, and then having almost like an hour to be there, and then you have to go. So yeah, it's still pretty crazy here.
Yeah, same.
And how about you, Ronald?
Same over here. Exactly the same. Not much to talk about.
So Ronald, you're in where are you located now?
I'm located in Central Europe, to be more specific, Slovakia. Do you know anything
Slovakia?
about Yeah.
I don't know anything about Slovakia, but I kind of know where Europe is at, if that counts.
It does. Yeah,
Interesting.
And then you're in the Netherlands. Is that where you're at?
exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh.
You explained it in your email, and I just kind of wasn't sure where you guys were at. And then I was going to ask you how you guys met each other and how you came up with your show, your podcast.
Oh yeah. Well, it's pretty strange actually. I was working on a video game, well, a mod, and I was doing a voice of another voice actor that has played the same character as me, but I just doing an impression. But they needed to sort of further his story along, and they needed someone to do the voice. I worked on that, and I think Ronald contacted me once, like, "Hey, I heard you're this voice actor, and it's pretty cool." And we started talking, and another guy came along, a friend of ours, and yeah, them actually together,
Yeah.
Ronald and him, they made up like, "Hey, can we finally do something serious with voice actors, maybe especially with voice actors that have been working at Valve or other studios?" And I think that was a little bit of the start, and we became very good friends.
Pretty
So
much.
yeah, slowly,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but
Cool.
but we plan to do other stuff too, not only just voice actors, since the VOC
Mm-hmm.
podcast is a generalized podcast
Yeah,
where we talk about whatever we want to.
Right.
exactly.
So yeah.
Well, it's interesting how you guys came across that and came across each other. So,
Yeah.
are you both work in the video game industry as developers, or you're involved in different stuff?
Voice actors, I would say. Yeah, I'm an actor and a voice actor, and my friend
Mhm.
Vincent, he's a voice actor as well, but he
Mhm.
also does some other stuff like level design and
Mhm.
etc.
Yeah, it's
So where you
it's not
guys are
anything
located in that
professional.
part, in your part of the world? I mean, how, as in, let's just say, voice over industry, um, in here, and I know it's affected it worldwide, but with technology and the pay to play casting websites
Hmm.
and how that's wreaked havoc on the voiceover world, how does that affect where you guys are located? Because now, like, you're competing with people from all over the world.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's crazy because in our team, like the game we're developing, it's huge. It's hours long, and the script is amazing. The amount of work that's been done is almost the same, if not more, than years ago professionally. And it's just the fans all coming together, and it's all over the world. I cannot pinpoint like where are the people in my team like from a specific region. No, it's everywhere. But that's really the beauty of it. I'm sure people have said it before, but it's just true. It's really cool to see it come together, so diverse and not forced at all, but it's just purely coincidence, and we all share the same love for yeah, for acting or writing, level design, music, anything actually. So
Yeah.
I'm really cool that I live in this time where where that's possible, but also it can make things harder or maybe dangerous even. It all has its ups and yeah,
Yeah,
pros and cons. I mean,
but if you Vince, if you meant like the video game industry in our countries, well, not a lot of opportunities.
hmm
I definitely plan to move out to the US, since the opportunities are much more there and all that. It's just not enough opportunities and all that.
Yeah, well, the one
So
thing
yeah.
that I know that the pipeline of opportunities has changed for a lot of voice actors because, um, and then it's due to the platforms that were created by these companies to
hmm
basically cut out agents,
yeah,
to move away from union work, or
Yeah.
basically the money's dropped a lot. There's a lot of these different issues, and one of the things too is that when I started, it was like, okay, you had a demo, and you know ad agencies will listen to it and they go, okay, we want this guy, and then they'd book
Mhm.
you. So it was like there wasn't 300 or 400 people, and this is, I'm just talking like a smaller market radio spot or something. So like a couple years ago, or 2 summers ago, I guess it was I read for this announcer for it was like a mortgage company or something. It was in Long Beach, California. And so a small market, it was going to be like a 13-week cycle or something like that. 300 people auditioned for that little spot. And I was in the top 2. And they ended up using a woman as the spokesperson. Okay. So I was in the top 2 out of 300, where, I mean, and that's just people that are located in the United States. They could have been located in Australia or wherever. I mean, so the amount of people in the audition process could be 100 times more than you read that were you, and they may never even hear your audition because they may just land on one and go, that's it. But they don't even listen. We're not going to listen to the other 300 because we think what we have what we want. So it's changed a lot, and it's. I was just wanting to tell you, Ronald, that it's opportunity has become much harder with technology, and so that's part of it. There's the beauty of you have opportunity worldwide, in that sense, but also too, it just opens up a big can of worms in the sense of. There may be 1,000, 1,500 people auditioning for, one part, and they may never even listen to all the auditions. So that's a different thing, that certainly that's changed a lot. And, it's hard to, it's been hard for a lot of people to adjust to that whole pay to play thing, which is,
but none of those websites like it never will replace like union work because it's not the same money. It's nothing. Like people audition for like roles for $10-$20.
Yeah, there's that part of it, but also too there's kind of more legitimate platforms that are still pay to play, but maybe the agencies are subscribing to that. That's more union work and upper echelons of kind of more like a traditional casting process where they're going to top agencies and things like that. So but then even then those pipelines are pretty slow, so it's just like one of the things that I need to do and is I need to open up my pipeline of opportunity and just you need to get more representation in different arenas, just to and take advantage of it. I've had it in different markets, and now it's kind of like, well, I just think I need to crank things up, and I don't have a full on home studio, but the stuff I record is pretty good, and it's been used in in on air stuff. But I just, in order to compete, you have to have full on studio at home and be a sound engineer and all these other things that I never really wanted to do. I just want to go and I mean, I like going to the studio. So for me, it's like, I just want to go in the studio. I don't really want to have a home studio, but it's just, that's what it has to come to, So, so anybody that's out there looking for voice talent, I'm available. I'd like to audition. So whatever it is.
You're still available.
Yeah.
Right.
Please use this guy. He's amazing.
I haven't kicked the bucket yet, so I'm all right.
Yeah.
As long as I can talk. That's the beauty of voiceover too, is like in Left 4 Dead, the guy that played Bill, Jim French. Jim was an older guy. I mean, he'd been a long time radio guy in the Seattle area and kind of an institution in a sense. And he was, I don't know how old he was when he recorded that, but he was probably in his late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
And he's since passed on, but he was somebody. I mean, I didn't know the character, and until what the character looked like on as far as the game for Bill's character, and I'm trying to remember if I even knew he had been cast as that
Oh, yeah.
character. I don't think I knew until maybe we went in and did the trailer, who all was cast in those. But
Yeah.
Crazy.
here's an older guy who, I mean, he sounded a little older, but he wasn't. I don't think he came across as being as maybe as old as he was in that time frame. But it's it's one of those things with voiceover is there's people like I just saw this interview with Richard Attenborough, who's done all this BBC stuff.
Oh,
And
okay.
I don't know how old he is now, but he's got to be pushing 80, I imagine. But he's got this legendary voice, that's, I mean, and I can't, that's funny in the world of voiceover, how many times we want a Richard Attenborough type, or we want a Sam Elliott type, or we want the other guy, Morgan Freeman's another big one.
Yeah.
They're those you get all these like or oh geez, Jeff Bridges is another one.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of those. So you try, there's certain guys that I get to, and this is the beauty of technology, just as far as auditioning, it's like if there's an actor they're referencing, I don't know who they are. I mean, I can go on there and go to YouTube and find clips and like, oh,
Yeah.
I guess this is somebody I should know about. I didn't know who this was. And so I remember there was one, I can't remember even the name of the actor, but he was on Deadwood, the series Deadwood. And so I was like, well, I don't know who this guy is. So,
Okay.
it's interesting. And just like going in an audition process, they reference somebody, and then you go and discover somebody's work. And you're like, oh, okay, I like this person. I didn't know who they were. And just by the chance I had to figure out who they were, I came across their work.
Or you've seen them before, but you never actually realized that it was that person. Maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
Like there was a guy that does all these Allstate commercials out here in the States, and he had been on these different series, but he did a great job in this in these Mayhem series of commercials. And so it's like I don't know who this guy is. Then I look him up and I realized, oh, he was on Law and Order, he was on this, he was on that. The guy's done a lot of stuff, but the commercial is when he people really found out who he was. But
I think the same goes for Francis, unfortunately, because a lot of comments under your videos, your commented videos and all that, a lot of Francis comments and all that pop up.
yes, I find that annoying, to be honest.
I get it.
It's like, just comment on the the bit, or you think it's funny and so whatever. And they instead will write something, smokers or, something along those. Because I do this bit about my mom smoking, she was, smoked for a long time when I was growing up. So anyway, that was, or they'll make something reference to the game as opposed to, hey, I really liked your bit, blah, blah, blah. Or they'll make reference to the game.
Yeah, even though from their end, it's sort of, oh, it's amazing to see this person. I know him from only this. But of course, from your end.
Yeah.
It's like, hello, I'm a human being. I can do other things than just one thing I did 10 years ago.
Right. And, it's funny that too, is that one time on Facebook, this guy contacted me and he friended me and I don't know who it was or whatever. He was in another part of the world. So I said, oh, all right. I friended him and stuff. And then so he sent me a message, said, thanking me and he goes, I can't believe I'm friends with the greatest video character of all time and the greatest video game of all time.
Oh, wow.
And I said, oh, thanks, man. But, you really need to get out of your parents' basement. You need to get a life. I appreciate it. But, but yeah, I mean, it's interesting the impact that game had on the video game world, and just how many people, because sometimes when like I said, it's secretive, it's this, it's that, or your agent's telling you it's a big thing, like, okay, well, I'll believe it when I see it. I've been in the entertainment business a while, and it's just like, I believe it when the check clears. That's when that's just, I don't, you don't get too excited about stuff because it's, you just don't, because it's not the good way to go about it. don't spend the money before you have it. If I could teach you guys anything, do not. Yeah. So, you just go, you don't know really what you're getting into. And then when you see it kind of just, and one of the weird things was waking up in the morning, clicking on the television, and then there is these Left 4 Dead trailer commercials, on television. You're like, wait a minute, you're not even, I haven't had my coffee and I'm figuring it out. Like, wait a minute, that was me on there. That's weird. And, I auditioned in my underwear. Now I'm in my underwear watching this in the morning. It's
of course.
Weird. Full circle, weird.
Yeah.
Freedom.
I don't know why my underwear is involved in all these things, but that's also weird.
They bring good luck.
Yeah, that's good.
Probably.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Well, I know Francis comes up a lot, but I do have to ask further about Francis, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead. It's
okay.
It's
good.
interesting. Like, for my part of it is like how you guys were, the playing audience views Francis, and what what it is that you guys see in him, or what you enjoyed about it. I mean, some people, they think it's the sarcasm and so maybe the protector part of him, or he's I don't know, but I was curious to see what you guys how that came off to you guys.
That is a very good one.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I can't really like judge him or something, because I always played as Lewis, and when I seen Francis like drastically running to me and helping me up, even though he was saying some shit in the background, like, man, you gotta wake up, because next time I'm gonna leave you on the ground or something like that. So
Yeah,
I like him as a character because I find him cool, like how in the outside he's like a biker, an angry biker, but in the inside he's like, all right, man, he's a friend.
right.
He wouldn't leave you behind if it happens.
Yeah, he'll pull you up out of the hole, or out of the fire, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah. In Left 4 Dead, do you remember like recording for Left 4 Dead 2 when Bill died? And I mean, like, damn, it should have been Lewis or something like that.
I don't remember that, but sorry about that. I mean,
no worries.
it was nothing personal.
Nothing personal. Yeah. That was fun.
But it's like I said, they wanted that kind of depth to him, and that he was, not everything, and that he appears to be, and that's I always like that, that characters aren't one-dimensional, one-trick pony kind of thing. So he likes to razz people. At the same time, he's going to be he's there for you. He'll take a bullet for anybody, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
The respect. Oh, actually, did you base the voice on any one, or like a specific region, or I don't know, where does the sound
accent,
come from?
perhaps.
It really wasn't based on anything. I just kind of just tried to mainly get the what I felt would be like the depth and gruffness of somebody like that.
Yeah.
And I just had the ability to make my voice that way, and like in my natural speaking voice, there's a little bit of a voice of a friend of mine calls a grr. So it's a little bit of a grr in there. And so
I get it. Yeah.
But in the depth of that character and that kind of raspy, just that kind of tone, that's but you can also soften it up too, those, and that's the thing about, interesting about the script and having the depth in the character and all these different situations, because they write every possible situation that can happen. I'm getting shot, somebody else got shot, somebody's dying, somebody's life is on the line, I got to save them. So you have all these different scenarios, and you got to play to that emotional life of that character, not only the character you're saving, but within you, what you got to pull out. And So there's a lot of room for character depth in those types of parts like that, because you have so many scenarios. And I think too, just from an acting standpoint, you got to play the circumstances. That's
Yeah.
one of
Yeah,
my
okay.
one of my acting teachers, Richard Brestoff, who is a very talented guy in his own right, and a great teacher. And where he was always talking about how actors get addicted to lines. They're addicted. They're line addicts. He goes, it's like they're cocaine addicts. They're line addicts. He goes, it's really all about it's the circumstances. You have to play to the circumstances, and whether it's the prior moment or whatever the case may be. But that's why if you were to watch foreign films and they have subtitles, eventually the subtitles just become invisible, because the acting is the circumstances and
True.
what's going on in the story, so that all just the words just become irrelevant, really, because
Yeah.
the acting, it tells the story. And so I try not to get too caught up in the words, that the words come out of the circumstances and the an emotional moment, so but it's interesting to hear like what you guys thought of it and playing it, and that's I had a young gal, she contacted me on Facebook and had said that she played Left 4 Dead a lot when she was going through a really hard time in her life, and that's so that she and Francis was her favorite character, and that Francis
sweet.
helped her get through this tough period in her life, which was I mean, what do you say to that? I mean, it's just kind of like, wow,
Yeah.
glad
You
I
didn't
was
even
there
have
for
to be
you.
there.
Yeah.
Right. And that's it's really, you're not the one that's really there, but you're there because you did the voice. And so it's just kind of interesting, the impact that whether the people are laughing or they're mad because Francis said something bad. And so yeah, it's just I mean, there was one other audition I did for a voiceover a video game, and this was probably about a year and a half ago.
Oh.
And this was now like full on acting, where they're going to shoot on green screen, and then I mean, this is like a movie production. It's 40 days of production at least, and if you had a callback, you go to Los Angeles, then New York, and then if you got the part, they would fly you to Serbia for one day and do some kind of face recognition thing, which I don't know why Serbia.
Whoa.
But it was just this whole, I mean, you're like thinking like, this is, I mean, these are full on motion picture production levels of millions and millions of dollars to go into this stuff. And, that's just the level that video games have gotten to, and then, adding, name actors and things like that they put out front, and then the rest of the the roles are filled with no name guys and gals, but are good actors and voice actors, and that's one of the things I liked about voiceover, is just the fact that it's and this is the thing about typecasting. You're not getting typecast based on your name or your look. It's just your voice.
Okay.
However, that's not always the case. I mean, and I'll tell you why. First of all, in being known as a comedian first, and then diversifying into acting and voiceover, I was always labeled as a comedian first. And so they only wanted me to read for funny stuff or character stuff, which I was good at, but I'm thinking, well, I can do these announcer spots just as good as anybody, So I had to work really hard to change that. And then the other part, which came later, this is not too long ago, this is a few years ago, is that this voiceover coach that I had met, he referred me to a producer that was back in New York or something. And so they said, well, can he speak without an accent? He'd never heard my work.
Okay.
And I'm like, well, what the hell is he talking about? Just based on Valenzuela alone. And I'm like, and that pissed me off so bad, because here this is like, I'm thinking voiceover. What I loved about it is it's not what I look like. It's not my last name. It's just the sound of my voice, and whatever voice I can create, which is vast. And that really angered me. So I thought, well, I'm going to start submitting under my first and middle name. So my first name, Vincent, and Thomas is my middle name.
Oh, wow.
So I got booked under Vincent Thomas by a production house who I'd worked with for 20 years. They didn't know it was me.
Amazing.
Oh
Whoa.
my
And
gosh.
so I've officially changed my name with SAG-AFTRA to Vincent Thomas.
You're kidding.
So no, so I'm known as Vince
Whoa.
Valenzuela and also Vincent Thomas. So this is the first public format where I'm announcing that my name is Vincent Thomas. If somebody was also looking for me, they would find me under vincentthomas.actor. That's my other website. And it's the same stuff that would be on my, vincevalenzuela.com. But
people can connect the dots now.
and that's why I really, and I was working with this other voiceover person that said, just make it easier on yourself. If that's the case, if that's happening, just try and take that out of the equation. And so it was interesting to be hired by somebody who literally did not recognize my voice. And I had done, I don't know how many sessions at their studios, So
you did a pretty good job then. You're unrecognizable then to them. That's a good job. I mean, if they worked with you for a long time, you said, right?
Yeah. We recorded a lot of the Left 4 Dead sessions there.
Ah, wow.
So I don't want to name any names, but that's what happened.
What is your favorite Left 4 Dead line?
Just I hate. I hate,
You hate everything.
And it's kind of funny, I hate
you
everything.
don't hate us.
No, and I think I said I didn't hate you, didn't I?
No, I don't know. I know you
I
said
said
it yourself, but
I know I didn't. I was trying to think what I recorded for you guys' podcast. I think I said, well, you know what I don't hate? I don't hate this podcast.
Exactly.
And I don't hate Ronald, and I don't hate Vincent.
Yes.
Yes.
yeah.
That was kind of fun. Just the fact that this guy hated everything, and just like I hate lawyers. When are they get done practicing law?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, and there was a lot of lines that I just riffed during that, these recorded sessions. I couldn't tell you. And I joked around. I said, well, am I going to get paid for those? They're like, yeah, okay, keep going. Right? So, and those stayed in the game, a lot of them. And, but that's,
very happy about that.
You get the, liberty of, because, in a lot of voiceover stuff, kind of what I would say can, more like commercial or, TV spots, not big, video games where you have all these different sessions to riff and you don't have as much time to play, and so when you get something like that, you have room, you're looking for these areas to, bring to life, or those little notes you can create to, put some, I just call them curly cues, put some kind of spin on things and a little curly cue, like in acting, if you got, you got to figure out a way to get into that line, whether it's a hesitation and then you go into the line or whatever the case may be. It's just bringing life to that, that moment. Yeah. And so when you have that amount of script, you can really go through and you get in a rhythm and, the character. And so that part of it is fun. And it was kind of funny, just the fact that he always hated everything, So what I'd always try to, bring that, but I think you could, and I don't know, maybe from your standpoint, but I tried to bring it to where, you could tell I really didn't hate it. I was just bitching, basically, Because there's everybody knows somebody who bitches about everything. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like, does he really hate everything? Is it really that big a deal to you? You know,
Yeah.
of all the things to worry about in the world, you really hate that. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
He never really had like a very a very good argument for them. He just
Yeah.
just
You hate
just
Canada.
set them
You
out in the
hate
open.
everything.
yeah. Hey, one thing that you were asking me about what my favorite line was.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that I just thought about was from the trailer where I just blow the zombie away and I go, "Merry Christmas." You know?
Yeah.
That was, I gotta say, that was pretty fun to do. You know, because it was just so violent and just, you know, grotesque. You know, just blowing the zombie away.
Yeah, like it's nothing.
Yeah. And how was the experience, you know, working with Jen Taylor, Jim French, and Earl Alexander, you know, on the trailer? Because you guys were all in the same studio, right? At that time.
For the trailer,
bit.
yeah.
The trailer.
Yeah. For that, just for the trailer. We did everything independently. And so when I got to meet them and stuff and interacting for the trailer, it was fun. It was interesting to I mean, they're all very professional. They all were all dialed in, and so it went smoothly. I mean, and then when you see the final result with everything all together, you know, I mean, we saw the video, like I told you, that's when they debuted the trailer, and you're like, holy shit, that's
really
It was
jaw-dropping.
really amazing. Yeah.
and you're like, wow. I mean, it is where you're in the surround sound in the actual where the engineers sit when we are watching this whole thing, and you're like, holy crap, that thing's just, you know, in your face and balls to the wall. So then you go in and record it, right? So that's, you get the idea of what you're dealing with. So that gives the, you know, from an acting standpoint, you know, there's certain times where there's just the calmness of it before all of a sudden the zombies come out of the woodwork and all hell breaks loose, to this, you know, intense just gunfire and saving lives. And and I pulled Zoe up, I believe, and you know, she was so I was pretty much the man of the hour, I think, of that whole thing.
Yeah.
It was
really
saving her life. But yeah, that part of it, you know, they were easy to work with, and they all did a great job. And then later on, in one of the, I think it might have been 3 at that point in time, Jen and I recorded in the same studio because she was in Los Angeles at that time. So I got to see her again, you know, whatever it was, 2 years later or something. I didn't get a chance to record with Earl.
I see.
And
perhaps for next
Jim.
next update, I guess, for Left 4 Dead 2, maybe The Sacrifice, where Bill was.
Yeah,
dead
it was.
already, and they
it
made
was
the new
something along, you know.
survivors, maybe.
Yeah, they set up the studio time where we were at, you know, and so Jen and I both happened to be in Los Angeles, so we both recorded, not simultaneously, but that's just a chance I got to see her again, and we both, the session was set up at the same studio. We just went back to back kind of thing. But yeah, and you know, Jim, I didn't really get a chance to get to know. I got to know Earl some, you know, we're gonna try and get together here soon. And Jen, I haven't seen her, talk to her, but she was always really nice, very cool, and you know, she just does a great job. I mean, she's, you know, her voice has got this real like crystal clear aspect to it, you know, that's really captures that youthful innocence, but at the same time, she's a badass.
Yeah,
you know, she's tough, and yeah, she's very good.
Yeah, did you actually met the Left 4 Dead 2 actors as well? Chad Coleman, Rochelle Eitz, and Hawk Dillon, Eric Ladden. Do you perhaps know them?
I do not. I've never met any of them. And so maybe we need to plan a reunion.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, the fans have always wanted it.
But actually, it's strange.
I don't know if those guys do Comic-Con or any of that stuff, or any.
But you haven't done anything, because I remember Earl and Jen seeing on a Comic-Con, but I haven't seen you. Why is that?
Ooh.
Well, they never. I don't really know why. I will tell you this, that when Valve was wanting to work with me on personal appearances,
Okay.
because I was performing at comedy clubs and stuff, and we talked about that, and we're going to make it happen, and just never did. I don't know why. They just kind of got lost interest or whatever.
Oh, no.
Um,
That happens a lot.
and they moved on from Francis, which is okay.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
but I don't know. I mean, I would have enjoyed doing that, I think, and because it's just always so foreign to me in the sense that, most of the other stuff I do, as far as, you're interacting on, if you're performing stand up or in acting, you're engaged with people all the time.
Yeah.
Whether on the set or
That's nice.
that kind of, and then with voiceover, it's a very isolated thing. You do the thing, and then you're off of your way and go on to other stuff, and you kind of forget about it. And so it's kind of fun to revisit, thinking about some of these experiences with Left 4 Dead and going back and remember some of those things that I haven't thought about in a long time, or just things that were associated with the character. And I'm sure I have the drawing of the character, the original drawing.
Yeah.
It'd be fun to see what you guys, send me that stuff. You can email it to me or a link or something.
Sure.
It'd be fun to see that stuff, just to see
We will.
those, just kind of get the history of the game.
Yeah.
And I know I have that preliminary drawing somewhere. And
Oh.
so, but it's just, I don't really know why that happened that way. I don't know, but who knows?
How was
Yeah.
it?
I read for Left 4 Dead 2 and 3. I didn't get cast in that.
Oh, have you? Oh, have you?
Mhm.
Tell us about it. For 3,
2 and 3.
2, and 3.
I'm trying to remember the characters
Oh,
I read
wait, you mean
for.
for the new survivors?
Yeah, I read for those games. Yeah,
Oh.
I auditioned for those games. And you would never have known it was me. Totally unrecognizable.
Oh, this is
So-
really cool.
Do you
I
perhaps,
can't even imagine.
can you tell us when did you audition for those Left 4 Dead 3 survivors?
No, I don't know what year it was. I couldn't tell you.
So, okay, so it was a while back.
Oh yeah, back before they came out, whenever that was. I don't remember. You got to understand, it's been a while now, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
It's hard
as
to
you
believe.
as you'll learn, as you get older, you realize that time goes by exponentially fast, much faster than when you were younger.
Yeah.
'Cause
And
you
every
go-
year it speeds
You're
up.
like, oh, that was like what, 3 years ago, and you're like, what year was that? You go, holy shit, that was 15 years ago, whatever it may be. And you're like, how could that be? And I
Yeah.
remember when I was a kid, one of my teachers said, Vince, you got to do what you love because time goes by so fast, And I'm like, yeah, whatever, old man. You don't know it.
Yeah.
And then as you get older, you're like, wow, it just really goes by way too fast,
Yeah.
But
Exactly, yeah. I'm gonna live forever.
exactly.
Actually, do you are you working on anything, any big project right now that's about to come up or release, or in a while, something we can sort of look forward to
Anything
hearing you in
acting
or see you in?
voiceover related?
Voiceover related. The only thing I think really that somebody may recognize, or at least be able to, I did the voice for just a commercial spot for Polaris. Those are they're the motorcycles that are 3 wheels, and they call them motor. I think they call them motor carriages or something. I don't know. So they got the 2 wheels in the front and the one in the back, and they're pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it's it's been pretty slow on the voiceover front, and now I'm looking to now I'm on a serious mission to make changes.
Ooh.
So I'm kind of been sitting back a little bit, like now I'm tired of things not coming my way. Now I'm going to be going out and trying to get new representation.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just looking to make changes because I'm not happy where, just the way things have been.
Okay.
So, that, and if that means, new representation, then I guess that means new representation. If it means working, having rep in several markets, which I've had before, and some of those have fallen wayside that I would just want to, but also too as Vincent Thomas and not Vince Valenzuela. So that's, like if and that's not something that I took lightly. I always liked my name, and and a lot of people think it's a stage name, Vince Valenzuela.
Oh.
And
I can't
they
imagine
asked me, they go, how long have you had that name? And I said, well, pretty much since birth. It's
Yeah,
that's
I
how
can't
long I've
remember
had
when I
that
decided
stage
that.
name. Yeah, I always knew I wanted to be in show
But
business,
yeah.
so that's when we started it. And so anyway, so that was a hard decision for me to make because it was like I didn't want to, and like voiceover to me was like the purest part of entertainment for me. And then when those things happened, and I tested it out of submitting under a different name and got booked by people that had booked me before as Vince Valenzuela. Then I thought, that was really it was tough to confirm that because it was accepting the labeling that was going on.
Oh yeah.
So I haven't really, I redid a bunch of stuff, and now I'm kind of like, and I've sat on it for a while. And so now I kind of think I want to just go back out and kind of rebrand myself.
Good.
In a sense, so, and I hate that branding, but that's the way people talk today. So I just think brand, your brand, what is your brand? I don't know. It's funny and entertaining. I don't know. I just want to work. I enjoy working, so that's my brand.
Cool.
If anything, really, I like to, I'm known to have a wide range, I can do a lot of different stuff, a lot of different characters. I've watched some of the things with one of the other voice actors about dialects and things like that. So I've been asked to do a lot of different things, different ethnicities, that in today's world is also not something that they want people to get cast as if they're of that ethnicity, which I understand too. And years ago, I was asked to do this African-American voice, and we really wanted urban. And,
urban.
These are white, white collar, white advertising agencies, and their copywriters. That's what they want. So I give them something, and they go, "Oh, that's a little too urban. Can you bring it back a little?"
Yeah.
And so,
God.
it was funny to me because. And there was Black actors reading in there, and I was too ethnic for what they wanted, too urban. So
sure, okay,
yeah. And there's different times I've read. I did get booked as a African-American football player a couple different times. I've read for different stuff that old, I think it was some Nintendo games, old Asian character. Different things that I've done over the years. So I think that's my greatest strength in voiceover. What's really interesting about voiceover is there's some people that have literally no range. What they do is about this wide, and what they do is really good, but that's all they do, and that's
probably
exactly what they're known. But like millennial, young millennial. I've done stuff where the youngest part I've ever read for was the baby. What are they? Baby Einsteins or something. Baby Einsteins or
Little Einsteins, right?
Little they're infants, right?
Are you it?
And so my agent asked me. I said, can you? I go, That's something that I'm sometimes I wake up in the morning and my voice is not going that high, but I'll give it a shot. So they wanted a 6-year-old Latino boy to, and so some days I can get pretty high and get dialed in.
Lord.
So that was probably the youngest that I've ever read for.
And did you actually?
I voiced midgets, which is not a politically correct term, but I did. It was a very politically incorrect ad. I did a voice of midgets for a while.
Okay.
I did a Santa elf, different things like that. And I've done stuff for, corporate stuff for
Very
American Express or, stuff like that. So it's pretty wide range. And one thing I've avoided but I think I'm going to make some changes too, is I've avoided audiobooks. And
that's
the reason why is because it's just it's a big time eater, and you got to dedicate a lot of time. But as I'm getting older, I'm like, well, if that's just another area of voiceover I could tap into, and you kind of have a, that, and I've known somebody who's in a Grammy-winning, director that's a long time friend of mine that I did they released my first CD, my comedy CD, my first one.
Ooh.
And so I've had a long friendship. And so if that's a realm I want to go down, I'd have some good expertise to tap into. But it is a time eater, but you just still get to do characters and different things like that. And but it is something that just takes a tremendous amount of time.
Yeah, definitely.
As opposed to just going in and reading for something and boom, you're done. My record in the studio is 2 minutes, 11 seconds.
Oh,
I don't know if
my goodness.
And the other one, I did 2 characters in 13 minutes.
Jesus.
And they go, that was great. And I go, well, we can do more. No, I think we got it. I'm like, really? And they go, oh, that's all right.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
All right, I'll see you guys later.
Or not. Yeah.
It's like, it's funny that you go like, I can give you more. I give you more reasons. No, that was great. And you feel like you're ripping them off because you're like, I can give you more. It's something. No, we're good. I'm like, you sure? All right. Well,
okay.
Can you
validate
my parking? Yeah.
Sorry, is there any role that you always wanted to do but could never get, or nobody has offered, or anything you wanted to play but never got to?
As far as acting or voiceover?
I would say both.
Well, when I was with a head rep with William Morris before they merged with William Morris Endeavor. And so how I got that representation was basically because of Left 4 Dead.
Okay.
Oh.
So when and this also kind of goes back to like how big Left 4 Dead was, which I really didn't know, but in Seattle, where I was living at when it was released, billboards were everywhere. I mean, everywhere. Well, when I went to Los Angeles, I flew in to meet with them, and billboards, and I didn't know, I flew in and I went to an area called Silver Lake. I stayed with some friends of mine, and I flew in, wake up the next morning, I'm going to go down to this place that has this chorizo and eggs that I'd eaten there before. It's great. So I had to walk down this hill, and so I haven't even been in town 24 hours. I'm walking down this hill, and Sunset Avenue is down at the bottom of the hill, and Sunset Boulevard. So as I look up, perfectly framed at the end of the street is a Valve Left 4 Dead billboard. That's the whole reason I went there, was for this meeting. And I wake up and I get there, and it's just, you could not have framed it more perfectly at the end of the street. And I'm like, wow. I mean, that's just kind of creepy and weird, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we go on to meet with them, and my agent was I don't know how this even works, but they were agenting talent with William Morris, and they went in and introduced me, and So I met the lady who was, I didn't know who she was, but she's apparently like the fifth most powerful person in Hollywood. And she was the big kahuna at William Morris, but also she was an actress when she was younger. And she was the voice of Velma on Scooby-Doo.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was a little nugget, which I didn't know. And so she's like, the only picture of her, she was talking about Prince, and they were chatting about stuff, and I'm just sitting here, and she's, oh, well, it's nice to meet you, and blah, blah, blah. And we're going to go meet with the voiceover people. Oh, very nice meeting you. And the only picture in her office was Will Smith. But she was talking about Prince and some of these other things, and it's like, your client list is really big, right? So anyway, the idea was to have me piggyback on some roles. Second, well, a lot of happens is packaging, right? So they'll have, with big agencies, they have their primary things, their big stars, names that would go into a project, whether it's a movie or TV or voiceover games, animation. And so then it goes into their, they want to fill in they want to package it. So we have these guys, but we also have these other people that are lower down on the tier. And that was kind of the idea, is that I would get piggybacked on projects in read form. And, so there was one in particular that I really wanted. And that was, they were doing a Yogi Bear. And so Yogi Bear and Boo Boo, and I read for both of them, and I really wanted those, and I didn't get either one.
Oh.
So who got them was Dan Aykroyd got Yogi Bear, and Justin Timberlake got Boo Boo.
Ooh. Oh my!
And that was like, I'm like, his Yogi sucks, and Boo Boo was bad, but I get it. But you're like, it's just, they want the name recognition and stuff. But that was one that I really wanted, because I grew up watching Yogi the Bear, and, I did all those voices as a kid, just I watched one of the interviews, and the guy said he had the gift of mimicry. And I was the same way as a kid. I could do all these different voices. And when I got into stand-up, I wanted to be an impressionist. That's why I brought to the table. I didn't have any real jokes or anything other than doing voices, which I quickly found out that, impressionists, aren't really that all respected in as far as in stand-up.
True.
Yeah.
Because they do great voices, but their writing and things like that is not necessarily all that good. And so I was, I'm like, oh, so I would sprinkle in, things in my act unannounced and do different things like that. But Yogi Bear was one, and then that was another one, and the other one I think was Tom and Jerry, that old, and they were bringing that back for. I think these might have been just straight animation movies or straight to DVD animation movies.
Yeah.
And the other one was
one came out.
Deputy Dog, Droopy Dog. Oh,
I do recognize it somewhere in the name, but
do. It's a Vince voice.
oh yeah,
I'm sad.
yeah.
And do you know who that voice really is?
No,
Who is it?
no clue.
A famous author wrote In Cold Blood, Truman Capote.
Oh.
Truman Capote. Capote was an exaggerated Truman Capote, and Truman Capote spoke like this, and he had a voice that spoke like this.
I wish I could say I recognize it, but sorry, no.
It's the beauty.
I
of
do
YouTube,
know the character, of course, but
yeah. And so, but I'm just kind of giving you the backstory of where some of these voices came from.
Yeah.
And if you look at some animation and things like that, historic, you'll find that those are related to different characters, real life people. You can pick it up like, oh, that's kind of John Wayne-ish. Fred Flintstone was Ralph Cramden from the Honeymooners. Those types of things.
okay.
There was a real closeness to those. Like on the commercials, like Tony the Tiger from Frosted Flakes.
Yeah.
There's somebody that they brought that character back, and wasn't that, it was like, that's not a very good Tony the Tiger. Wasn't deep enough, it was just kind of. And then they had one commercial where him and Shaquille O'Neal were going back and forth doing, who did the better, great, whatever. And one other character that and this is kind of a tribute to a character that I did, was Starkist Tuna. They used to have this Starkist Tuna that had Charlie the Tuna, who was, and the whole campaign was, he was this kind of rough talking guy. So it was like, Starkist wants tuna with them. But Starkist wants tuna that tastes good, and blah, blah, blah. I'm the tuna with good taste. And then like, sorry, Charlie, Starkist wants tuna with, blah, blah, blah. Well, I did something for some surgery center, and I did a character that was, he was a germ or something like that. He was, and so I basically just did my little tribute to Charlie from Starkist Tuna from the old ad campaigns when I was growing up. So I did did that version of that voice, and I got the character. The weird thing is my brother was driving in his car and heard that spot, and he called me and he said, "Hey, did you do a thing for blah, blah, blah?" I'm like, "Yeah, how did you know that?" He goes, "Oh, I recognize your voice." And I'm like, "Really?"
What?
I mean, I was like, how did that, we grew up in the same room, so maybe I was doing voices, and he just recognized it. I mean, it was one of those things, like, I could see if I was doing a straight read on something and somebody, but that, I just thought, I was just kind of blown away that he knew that was me.
Yeah.
How was it actually to like return to Francis's voice after, so much time when you were recording for us?
That was fun. I mean, at different points in time, if somebody will bring something up to my attention about it, and I just kind of can turn it on, just kind of tap into just instantly. And it mainly, like, kind of goes back, I hate cops, I hate lawyers, I hate this, they hate that, I don't hate this vest. Yeah. And that was that would just be kind of something I would maybe mumble to myself, or just funny, just to kind of entertain myself in one moment after something came to my attention. And then it's out of my head, and for however long. So, but it was fun, and it's like it was a fun character to do. I mean, I was besides the strain of my voice, it was good. It was entertaining. It was, and I tried to make the character as entertaining as like my spin on it, and still fit what they wanted to accomplish with the character.
Yeah.
Because you still got to stay within the confines, so you kind of internalize it and then put your own spin on it, and hopefully that's what people like and respond to. And so I have no idea. I mean, do you guys have any idea how many people have played the game, or how many units were sold? Or
and actually, really. It's possible to look it up, but we'll have to find out. But there's an actual count online, which you can check out how many people are online and playing, and for how long, and even I think from what regions. Even you can really look into the statistics, but I don't know them.
12 million copies. 12 million copies.
12 million copies. Yeah.
Probably people are maybe still buying it and also still playing it. There's still a huge community, and fans have taken over. Like Valve has given off the tools to make like new areas and new places that you can play, and of course maybe even new survivors. So it's really continuing, and people will still be able to.
Yeah.
So they're continuing, but without any. They're allowing it. Valve is allowing it to continue, but they're not really developing anything new around it.
Well,
from their end, I mean.
Exactly. Yeah. Not Valve themselves, but the fans will just keep continuing, expanding, and changing the game almost entirely sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
That's funny.
it's really good. It's really
And
cool
that's
that
the thing
it's still
that's
going on.
yeah, I mean, it's funny, like, um, that like I said, I was entertained by the fact that, like, just going on YouTube and there's like all these different things that are around the trailer. That's where I first discovered it. And then I'm like, oh, what's this? And then it could be all these different, animations. They've torqued the faces of the characters
Yeah.
and, all these different things.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah.
it takes time to do all that. And
A
you're like,
lot.
it's just amazing that people took all that time to create something off of that.
Hmm.
One of them I got asked to do was the Left 4 Dead film. That was a director in Italy contacted me,
Oh
and
wow.
he wanted to.
Oh, I know that. Yeah.
He wanted me to do the character. He wanted me to do the voice of the character, and I said, I don't think I can do that. And he was making it was a prequel, I believe, and they had a actor do it. Kind of, he looked a lot like Francis, very sleek, looking guy, but he couldn't do the voice, so they wanted me to do the voice.
So
But
you
I
sort
really
of
couldn't.
you sync up maybe to his performance and then sort of dubbing
Yeah,
it almost.
yeah, but I said I can't do that.
Aw.
And besides, how much do I make? And it was, there was no budget. It was just him wanting to make a film. It's
Oh
like,
sure.
Oh.
yeah, I don't think that's gonna fly. But I think and Valve, I think over time and this is just my own observation, just they were seem to be very open to your request.
Yeah.
I don't earlier in years, more closer to after the release of the game, I was asked to do something with I want to say it's Rooster Feathers or some. They were out of Austin, Texas, and they had a what they did is they took video characters and narrated. Now they had an obstacle course they set up for these people, kind of like those Japanese obstacle course games that they have, or people crashing all over and they're doing all this stuff. Well, that was kind of their thing, and then what they did is they had famous voiceover characters doing the play-by-play, the announcer stuff
Mm.
of the games.
Oh wow.
And so it sounded fun and cool, and they were willing to fly me to Austin and pay a good little chunk of change and put me up. And I had a buddy of mine from college who lived there, and so I thought I could go do this and be fun, and
Yeah.
Valve just said, no, it's not in the best interest of the series. So I was
Oh.
kind of like, that would have been fun.
Seriously? That's a creative
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it was fun. And I didn't really see the conflict, but that wasn't my choice. But I thought it was funny. I thought it was like, oh, that's a nice spin on stuff and a fun project to do. And I really didn't see it as hindering, the success of the game or anything like that. And, I think that, they've, and this is again, just my own, just brief observation, is they've probably loosened up over the successes, and the interest is still here, and,
Yeah.
doing something fun that's a little off the track of, is
Yeah.
okay kind of thing. And they don't see it as being a threat, and so that's it'd be interesting to see what how the game, because you see these like different actors and stuff who did a project years before, or even in music, somebody discovers their work later on and they it catches fire again or something, where people get an interest to it. And so it's kind of fun for me to, like, well, you guys got an interest in Left 4 Dead and Francis, and it's like, you kind of forget about it because you did it a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people still find it entertaining, which is
Yeah,
good,
sure.
because I mean, it's one of those things that means you're doing stuff that's pretty timeless, and is, if it wasn't working, then people wouldn't have an interest in it. So
Exactly. And maybe we wouldn't have met you right now.
Yeah.
Well,
no,
met
not at
as in-
all.
Thanks, guys, for watching this episode of the VOC Podcast. Hopefully, we'll get to see Vince again. So, Vince, if you have anything to tell our viewers, go ahead.
Hey, I want you guys to continue watching the VOC podcast because these guys are a lot of fun. You know what? I love a lot of things, but I don't hate Vincent and I don't hate Ronald.
Hey guys, thanks for watching this video. If you'd like to see more in the future, please like this video and most importantly, subscribe to the VOC Podcast. Oh, and eat your vegetables. Do your homework. Don't break the laws. I gotta think about what I hate.